Dr. Jason W. Morrison, Theologist, New South Wales, Australia, the Watchtower Study Edition, 2019. Study Article 44. We're doing a theological audit on this. And we haven't got, it's taken 2 presentations, and I haven't gotten past the first line in context to how the Jehovah Witnesses treat people that don't suit their beliefs. You get into all this trouble with shunning. But the scripture they're quoting on the subject of build strong friendships before the end comes is, a true friend show loves at all times. But that doesn't seem to be the case in the Jehovah Witness organization, as we'll see in the following presentation. So please watch and enjoy. I don't mind referring out to other videos. I mean, the people that have experienced it know more about it than what I do. But for now, we'll turn to the following video.
Hey brothers and sisters, this is Cameron. We're going to talk about some of the effects of shunning, excommunication, disfellowshipping, and what happens to you, and what I've experienced after the 2018 memorial visit. I had to write these down. I've been feeling extremely sad, depressed, sluggish, not wanting to leave my apartment at times. After 1 week of being away from that space, I felt a little bit better. Honestly, I can say for a few weeks that I was pretty messed up. For the first week, after the first week, the more and more I distanced myself from the situation. Life started coming back to normal, back to my own reality, and my own ideas started coming back to my own head that, hey, I'm not a part of that world anymore. But it just definitely felt abusive while I was there. And I get it, like the situation that a lot of the witnesses were in. I went to arguably the most important annual event that Jehovah's Witnesses go to, is the memorial every year. And all my friends and family that I grew up with, they would be in jeopardy if anyone had smiled, shook my hand, patted me on the back. Although I've seen that before growing up, it's rare. They would have been in jeopardy for showing any type of condolences for someone who is disfellowshipped. I don't know if they know if I'm considered an apostate yet. I like to consider myself as an activist. It's interesting to see both sides, from one extreme to, I guess you could say, where I'm at now. The other side of the fence is another extreme too. The last 2-3 weeks, the honest truth is I've been extremely busy. Like I work all the time. I'm getting a flood of messages from you guys, and it's making me realize very quickly that there's a lot of people that need help, and this isn't just a vlog for me to vent and spread activism and words of how to deal with what's going on, but also a place for help. But I literally can't answer all the messages as they come in, and I feel pretty bad sometimes when I can't respond as fast as I would like to. And I'm not sure, it happens to be allergy season where I live. This year I haven't had it too bad, but I did have it, and I'm not really sure if it was the Benadryl combo with the allergies of me getting sick a few weeks ago and not feeling really good, and the depression. But I started not only, feeling the sadness and the depression from before, but I also started getting nightmares, cold sweats at night. I had a lot of trouble sleeping, more than usual. I'm a light sleeper in general. I would break down crying out of nowhere for no reason, especially when I was at home alone in my apartment. And then I had 2 or 3 anxiety attacks in that time. And I didn't know what anxiety attacks were until I had gotten on my own and started feeling the effects. But now I know exactly what they are, and I know if they're coming. I have a better idea of how to deal with them and handle them. So I reached out to a few other ex-JW activists and just touched around how they were feeling, if any of them had gone to the memorial, if few of them had, or times when they tried to reconnect with their family at the Kingdom Hall, and they all reported similar things. So right away I knew, I was like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. That's, again, one of the biggest reliefs that you're looking for when you figure out the truth about the truth, or the truth about the cult that you grew up in, is you're not alone. They said basically that they were going through some same experiences, like nightmares, cold sweats, depression, anxiety attacks. And I've been doing a lot of work and research on my own, and it brought up a memory of a previous job that I had. I remember I had worked for, I had this one boss. She was ex-Mormon. I don't think she was fully aware that she grew up in a cult, but she would never go back because her brother ended up being gay, and she loved him to death, much like my situation, where when I left, I was extremely homophobic, and one of my best friends ended up coming out as gay. He was almost kicked out of his home. It was a big old thing, and I stopped being judgmental right there. I told myself I'm going to stop. And her and I clicked a lot. She was ex-Mormon, I was, ex-JW, and she had a listening ear unlike most people had at the time. I hadn't started vlogging yet or reaching out at that time. And she was my boss. We worked for a very big tech company. She gets sent several times a year to all these meetings and motivational talks, and one of them was talking about isolation. I'm going to try to look up this report. I'm not sure or remember who the speaker was or the studies that were done, but the speaker was talking about, human interactions, just accepting each other, nonverbal skills and verbal skills, and isolation, which is what stood out to me, because that's what, when you're disfellowshipped or excommunicated, that's what they're hoping, is to isolate you. So one of the things that she brought up was, for example, if someone walks into a room, and this is not word for word, this is from my memory of what she said. If someone walks into a room and actively ignores that person, like a whole group of people, ignores that person, doesn't say hello, doesn't even look at that person, and just turns around and keeps doing their own thing, studies have shown that the brain triggers pain in the body. Jehovah's Witnesses are very similar to Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard teaches that if someone has a mental disease, I'm in nature right now. L. Ron Hubbard teaches in Scientology, if someone has a mental disease or has some emotional issues, instead of going to a psychologist or a trained person in that field, his approach is to isolate that person until they break out of that habit, like physically isolate that person, lock them away. It's a torture technique. And of course, L. Ron Hubbard, by the rest of the science community and psychology, was dismissing him on this, but he managed to get his word out to people that would listen to him. So it's no wonder that people go back to the cult that they came out of, because isolation, depression, mixing anxiety attacks, PTSD, or what we go through is religious PTSD, RPSD, low self-esteem, and so much more. People go back because that's what the cult is hoping for. They strip a person of their identity, they give you their own replaced identity, force them into a box, and make them afraid of the entire world. This is very common of many cults, all the way down from the Moonies to Heaven's Gate to so many more, even suicides in Islam and Muslims. And when someone makes a mistake or breaks one of their very, very rigid rules, which all these cults are famous for having, they're kicked out into the world with no way to fend for themselves, no way to survive in the real world, especially if brought up and raised in this cult like many of us were, or for the majority of your life, or if you've spent more than 2 years of your life in a cult, it can have a huge impact on your well-being. And they're hoping that you'll come back crawling on your knees to experience the quote-unquote love when you come back and prove yourself loyal to the cult again. So if you haven't seen my 4 things that JWs do that are pagan, at the very end of that video, it talks about disfellowshipping, excommunications, shunning, which is all the same thing, and how the Jehovah's Witnesses even admitted in their old Watchtowers in the 1940s that that was pagan and had nothing to do from the Bible, and is a complete misreading of the book of Corinthians. Go check that out. There's proof and links in that video. I'll put some links at the end of this video. But over time, I've compiled lists of things that work for me. The anxiety attacks, the bursting into tears. When it first happened, it was really scary, and I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I found ways to deal with those things and to move on and to trudge through them and to get better and distance myself and break myself out of that reality into the reality that I wanted to have. And if you guys would be interested in seeing some of that, that's part of what's coming with the Patreon video. If you are interested in seeing that, leave a comment down below saying, yes, I would love to see that, or what you would like to see on some issues that maybe you were facing on how to move forward. All the messages I'm getting, email, Instagram DMs, YouTube comments, YouTube messages, which I don't see very often because YouTube doesn't let you know when they come in. Let me know if you'd like to see that below, because I am moving forward. That's kind of the idea and the direction that I'm thinking about going in, as well as a few others, to give something back to you guys when I'm not physically around and not able to respond right away. So if this helps you out in any way, just me sharing my experience, or if you'd like to learn those techniques, leave a friendly comment below. Leave a thumbs up. This lets me know that this kind of activism is working. And subscribe so we can stay in contact. It will let me deliver more of this content to you in the future, and let you know the very cool, awesome things that are coming soon. Some very, very big, cool things I noticed that was missing in the community, and and an area of opportunity for help. So brothers and sisters, I will see you in the next video.